Hello and welcome to or back to my library. Today I wanted to talk about some books that I have on my TBR that I find intimidating as a way to hold myself accountable to actually get around to reading them. I so often put off reading these big epic fantasy or sci-fi books because they are either really long or sound really complicated, or the hype around them is so real that I get scared to read them, so I put them off for years. But then whenever I do finally get around to reading them, I end up loving them. Things like The Realm of the Elderling and Lord of the Rings, those kind of books where I put them off for so long, and then they end up being books that I adored when I finally got to them. I don't want to keep doing that, and I have a huge list of books that I really want to get to, but they just scare me for one reason or other. So I wanted to list them all out here, not as a TBR for this year, but as a TBR for at least the next couple of years to kind of slowly work my way through them. I have a goal this year to read at least 12 books that scare me, so ideally one per month, but I wouldn't be mad if there were more than that. So I figured let's make a video and put them all out there, starting with some honorable mentions of ones that I have actually already read so far this year, which includes Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, which is an epic Viking Norse-inspired fantasy. I read the first book in, I believe, January for the Catch-Up Book Club by Becca and the Books. We're reading the sequel very soon, and I'm so excited about it. I can't wait to get to it. Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez, which is a super long book. The actual book is only, I think, just shy of 500 pages, but the text is teeny tiny, and the audiobook I think was like 27 hours long. It was such a long book and very intimidating because of the plot as well. It has to do with the occult and demons and devils and that kind of thing, and follows a whole bunch of different characters, kind of rapidly switches between time periods and characters and that kind of thing. So it was very hard to follow. Definitely an intense read, but so worth it. It was awesome. And then Red Rising by Pierce Brown, which I recently read for a vlog project that I'm working on where I retry books that I previously DNF'd. I ended up loving this one. It was so compelling. It's a sci-fi novel set on Mars about a revolution, basically. It's like a much higher stakes Hunger Games. It was phenomenal, and I can't wait to carry on the series as well. So those are the ones that I've already read this year, and the rest of these ones are going to be on my immediate TBR for the next year or two. I want to say I would love to get through all of these this year, but that's probably not going to happen. But I will do my best at the very least. Get this massive one out of the way first. So Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon, I'm sure is a surprise to no one. This book is ginormous. This one is an epic fantasy with dragons involved. I don't actually know much about the plot aside from the dragons, and that it's also queer as well. That's all that I really know about it. But everyone who's actually managed to finish this book loved it, and I would love to be one of those people. This one will also be read for an installment in the vlog series where I retry books that I previously DNF'd, so look out for that at some point, hopefully soon, who knows, but at some point in the semi-near future, this one will be read for that vlog project. To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Paolini. I'm not really sure why this one intimidates me, but I think it just maybe is the size. I'm not really sure, but maybe also the plot a little bit. This one is a story that involves first contact that goes horribly wrong, which sounds great to me. I love first contact stories. They're probably my favorite kind of sci-fi, but for some reason this one scares me a little bit. I think it's mainly just the size. It's kind of a big book. How many pages is it? It is, oh my god, what? This does not look that big. Okay, it's the size, yeah. So these are like Bible thin pages, and it is 825 pages, and then like 50 pages of just the appendix, which is kind of crazy to me. So I think this book intimidates me because it seems like there's going to be a lot of science words involved, and I love sci-fi, but I am not a science-brained person, and I feel like this one may challenge me intellectually. So we'll see how this one goes when I get to it, but I am very much looking forward to it, and actually rereading the synopsis right now has reinvigorated my interest in this book, so hopefully I'll get to this one soon-ish as well. Next up is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. I don't know much about the plot of this one. I've kind of forgotten the synopsis a bit, but I do know that it has to do with a war, and apparently it is really brutal. There's revenge involved, and apparently everyone is emotionally destroyed by this book, and that's why it scares me. It's not super long. It's 544 pages, so not like a crazy long book, but apparently the emotional devastation is intense in this book, and that's what scares me. But at the same time, I do love books that make me cry. I'm not huge on like grimdark sort of fantasy, and I have no idea quite how dark this book gets, but from what I've heard, it does get very dark. I'm just not sure how graphic it'll be, so I think that's my main hesitation with it, is that I don't like gore and that kind of thing. So, but I do want to read this book. It sounds phenomenal, and people's reaction to it has me so curious about how I would react to it, so I'll get to that one Again, hopefully soon. Also, dragons. I love dragons. Next up is Empire of Silence by Christopher Ruocchio, maybe? Not really sure how to say his last name, but this one says that it's kind of a blend of genres. It is space opera mixed with epic fantasy and also has to do with war and is apparently quite brutal, which is why it scares me. Also, the length. This one is 768 pages, so that is a hefty read for me. A book that is under 350 pages, that is my sweet spot. I love that, but I do occasionally love a good chunky book. I just don't read them very often, which is why we're doing this video. Anyways, apparently in this one, the main character is forced to fight as a gladiator and fight in a war that he did not start. So that sounds really cool to me. I don't really know much else about it aside from that, but it sounds really interesting. And again, the reactions to this book are intense. So I'm very curious about it as well. The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. This one is another epic fantasy that says it's about uprising, espionage, and empire. And it seems like the main character is tasked with trying to stop a rebellion at any means necessary. I've heard nothing but incredible things about this series, which I think is the majority of my fear around it, is that it's so beloved that I just don't want to dislike it. But based on what everyone else has said about it, I think I'll probably end up loving it when I finally get around to reading this one. The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. This one has been listed as one of the top 100 best fantasy books of all time, and I've heard so many people raving about how incredible this series is. It's about two people who are polar opposites who become unlikely friends, but then find themselves leaders of opposite sides of a war, which sounds so cool to me. I think this one I'm scared of because I've heard it's really dark and devastating. And again, while I love to be devastated, I don't love overly dark books, but I want to like them. And also the length as well is a little bit long. It's 623 pages, which isn't crazy long, but it's also not short either. So, but it sounds fantastic, so hopefully I'll get to this one soon. Next up is Katabasis by RF Kuang, or really anything by this author. I've yet to read any of her books, but I desperately want to read all of them. This one sounds the most interesting to me because I love books about hell. This one is comped to Dante's Inferno and Piranesi, and it's about two graduate students putting aside their rivalry to journey to hell to save their professor's soul, perhaps at the cost of their own. From what I've heard, it's a very labyrinthine type of book, which is so fun to me. I think I'm mainly just scared of the author's writing style because I've heard she's quite academic. I am not that kind of person. I'm a very chill, cozy sort of person, so a highly academic epic fantasy is kind of a lot for me, but I do want to challenge myself to read books like this more often, and I would love to start with RF Kuang. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie. The synopsis for this one says, plague and famine stalk the land, monsters lurk in every shadow, and greedy princes care for nothing but their own ambitions. Only one thing is certain, the elves will come again and they will eat everyone. Which sounds wild and so cool, and I so badly want to read this book. I think my hesitation here is just the author. This is a very well-known author, and he's well-known for grimdark fantasy. I've never been interested in any other book by this author before because of how dark they are. I have no idea if The Devils is as dark as his other books, but the plot sounds so cool that even if it is that dark, I still want to read it anyways. It sounds awesome, and I've also heard some pretty mixed things about it, but I do really hope that I like this one. Next up is Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky, and honestly, anything from this author as well. This is the book of his that I'm most interested to read because giant alien space spiders is kind of my jam, and I love that about this. And I had no idea that was what this was about up until semi-recently, and since I heard that, this became one of those books that I desperately want to read but just haven't gotten around to because it's a little bit long. It's not like insanely long, it's just shy of 600 pages, so I've definitely read longer, but I know that once I read this book, I'm going to want to read everything by this author, and that is a large feat. So I think that's where my main hesitation comes from, but fingers crossed I will get to this one very soon. It sounds like something I'm going to absolutely love. Second from last is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I'm not entirely sure why this one scares me so much. I think it's just the hype around it. Everybody loves this series so much. It is such a beloved series that I'm scared to not like it. The back of this one says it's inspired by the civilizations of the pre-Columbian Americas, woven into a tale of celestial prophecies, forbidden magic, and crafted with unforgettable characters. Rebecca Roanhorse has created an epic fantasy adventure in the most original series debut of the decade, which sounds great. Doesn't tell me a whole lot about the actual series and like what it's about, but I don't want to read too much into it. I do want to go into this one fairly blind and just see what I think of it. But yeah, people just love this book so much and I'm scared of not liking it. I want to like it so desperately and I know that I will. I just have to get around to finally reading it. And finally for this list is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan, which is a reimagining of the rise to power of the Ming Dynasty's founding empire. This one intimidates me because when it first came out and everyone was buzzing about it, I thought this book was massive. Like I thought it was going to be an 800-page book, and then I saw it in a used bookstore one day and realized that it is not. It's like a pretty normal sized fantasy book. It's a little bit over 400 pages, but in my head this was a gigantic tome of a book, and it's not. And it sounds really cool. It's one of the quintessential sapphic fantasy books, and I desperately want to get to it. I just have to make time for it. But even though I now know it's not as big as I thought it was, it still scares me for some reason, so it's on the list. But those are the 11 books on my TBR, plus the 3 that I've already read that really scare me for one reason or other that I'm really hoping to get to at some point in the near future, ideally in the next year or two. I'm sure this list will continue to grow as the years go on and I get more into epic fantasy and sci-fi, but if you have any recommendations of your own, please leave them down below in the comments. I would love to hear some more. But in the meantime, that'll do it for this video, so thank you as always for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I'll see you in the next video.